Alright, so let's take a look at some other things like that we might need. Um, and that is to get the next item and get the previous item. Then I think we're pretty much done. For those, because notice that we're using float as an item, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create the blueprint for a get next item function. And then I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to get a prev item. And save that. Now, I'm not necessarily, now notice here if we go over it, it says function definition for get next item not found. Remember that we create our function definitions inside of our unsorted list CPP that included from the header file. So what I'm going to do here is maybe we can just copy this guy and then just change a few things down around. Remember that we did not pass in anything. The name of our function, let's jump back here, is get next item. You'll have to forgive me, I have a little bit of a cold. Get next item. Let's delete these guts because we want to start from scratch. We're starting with a new video here, so we want to make sure. And ours is not a void. That's why we're getting this error. Ours is a float, remember? So, so that took care of that. So how do we get the next item? Well, it's pretty easy. If our current position is 0 and we want to go to 1, all we have to use is that current position variable and increment it by 1, right? Because remember, current position is storing the position that we're at, right? And then all we have to do is just simply return. And remember, data is the array that's currently storing our current position. So here's current position. And all we're going to do is return whatever the current position is. And this will all make better sense when we actually implement this. So to save a little bit more time, I'm just going to copy and paste this. Now, what I would do is, just for your own knowledge, paste it right now. I mean, just pause the video right now, and then unpause it, and then follow along so that you can see if you could figure out how to get the previous item, how you can change this function. Okay, so I'm going to pause for like 1 second. All right, so hopefully you paused the video and you checked it out, and if you got errors, it's completely okay. So I'm going to go ahead and make this get prev item here, right? Now, if our current position is getting incremented to go to the next item, you probably thought or came up with the idea that, well, you know what? I'm just going to decrement it. And now that that's decremented, all we have to do is return the current position. Again, because our current position is whatever we're at. And don't forget that current position is the index, 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And data is the array. So if data is at holding the value 34 at index 0, or I'm sorry, at index 1, and the value is 33, if we decrement it, it'll go to 0, and then we'll return whatever the previous item is. Now, when we look over our list, there's a couple things, right? We are resetting our list. We're looking at what the length is. Is it in the list? Are we inserting an item, delete? There's a couple other things that we aren't doing. And one, we haven't done anything that actually retrieves the item, and we haven't done anything that actually prints out whatever the item is on our screen. For that, I'm just going to grab this float here, because remember uh, we're looking at retrieving an item. So I'm going to go back. Let's get rid of this. Okay. And because our index is our whole numbers, I'm just going to do grab the position, right? Pass in the position. All right. And again, we got that green error because you can see here that I'm going to copy. Let's jump back over here. We get the error because we haven't identified it. So let's go ahead and copy this, paste it. Let's nab our retrieve item here. And let's paste that here. So we're retrieving the current position here, item position. And then all we have to do is, whatever position that we're passing in, right? Like we want to say, okay, well, we want to retrieve an item at position 3 or whatever. So we're actually passing in a value for what we'd like the to grab versus if we look at get previous item, we're just checking what's there. This one, we're actually retrieving a specific item. So we also want to print to the screen. So let's just type that out here since we're here, then we'll go in and identify it. So, and we're going to get an error because we haven't given it the blueprint, but void unsorted list. Let's fix that S. And then we just want to print to the screen, so you can name it print or print to screen. And because we're not, again, we get an error, so let's go ahead and grab this. And we'll go ahead and, I like to keep my voids next to each other. So let's get rid of that. Let's throw our semicolon behind it. So that should get rid of, so here's void print. And then let's save this. I'll go ahead and grab these guys because my spelling is off. There we go. And then all we have to do to print this to the screen is we want to search through our array to print everything that's in there. So for that, we're going to use a for loop. And you remember that we want to start off at index 0. Let's get to print everything for us. And then we always want to be less than the length. And then we're just going to, as long as we're less than that length, we're going to increment this guy. And our length is actually a lowercase l. There we go. So let's go ahead and output. Let's do this. Let's also include IOStream. And I'm going to include this in 2 locations. This might be overkill, but just in case, I mean, I'm not going to really do any console output, but this does feed into this file. And we want to throw our namespace in there. And we're just using the standard namespace. So we're looking at the element at index I, and then we're just going to print out data I. Alright, so that was a little bit longer, it was 9 minutes. But so in the next video, we'll actually go ahead and test this guy out.